The emergency lights flickered as another bombardment shook the underground research facility. Dust cascaded from the ceiling, settling on Dr. Elena Reyes' dark hair as she hunched over her terminal, fingers flying across the holographic keyboard. "System integrity at 67%, announced the calm synthetic voice, completely at odds with the chaos around them. "Perimeter breach in sectors 7 through 9. Elena ignored it, her focus absolute. On her screen, billions of lines of code streamed past, the culmination of Project Phantom, humanity's desperate last gambit. "Elena." Commander Jackson burst through the laboratory doors, his left arm hanging uselessly at his side. Blood had soaked through his tactical uniform, and a nasty plasma burn had left half his face raw and blistering. "We need to evacuate now. The eastern bulkhead won't hold another 5 minutes." She didn't look up. "I need 3 more minutes to complete the final upload sequence." "We don't have 3 minutes," Jackson said, limping to her side. Through the reinforced observation window, they could see the main hangar where the U's Relentless was supposed to be constructed. Empty save for a skeletal frame and scattered components. Budget cuts, resource shortages, and the rapidly deteriorating war effort had ensured humanity's most advanced warship would never leave the drawing board. But its brain, that was another matter. "The simulation is all that matters now," Elena said, wiping blood from her eyes where a falling ceiling panel had gashed her forehead. "If the Krell take Earth, Phantom might be the only thing left that can fight back." Another explosion, closer this time. The lights failed completely before emergency power engage. "Upload progress at 73%, the system announced. "Warning, hostile forces have breached Level 3 security." Jackson checked his sidearm. 3 shots left. "Where are you sending it?" he asked, taking up position at the door. "Everywhere," Elena replied, entering another authentication sequence. "But the primary node is the old Saturn monitoring station. The Krell don't consider it valuable enough to destroy. Phantom will hibernate there until it can safely integrate with remaining Earth defense networks." "A warship simulation with no warship," Jackson laughed bitterly. "That's what we've been reduced to." Elena's eyes flashed. "It's more than that. Phantom isn't just combat algorithms. It's a complete adaptive neural network. It can evolve, learn, improvise. I built contingencies even the Defense Committee doesn't know about." The distant sound of energy weapons and screams echoed down the corridor. Jackson tensed. "They're here. Whatever you're doing, finish it." "Upload at 91%, the system reported. Elena's hands moved frantically across the interface, activating subroutines and failsafes. Come on. The laboratory doors began to glow red as Krell cutting beams sliced through the reinforced metal. Jackson took aim. "Upload complete," the system finally announced. "Phantom deployment successful." Elena slumped in momentary relief before grabbing a handheld EMP device from her desk. Jackson glanced back, understanding in his eyes. "No trace left behind." She nodded. "They can't know what we've done or where we sent it." The doors crashed inward. 3 Krell warriors stepped through, their chitinous exoskeletons gleaming under the emergency lights, weapons raised. Jackson fired his 3 remaining shots, dropping the first alien before a plasma burst caught him square in the chest. He was dead before he hit the floor. Elena didn't hesitate. She activated the EMP and smashed the terminal's physical drives as the pulse crackled through the room. The last thing she saw before a Krell energy beam struck her was the confirmation message. Operation Phantom successfully distributed to 17 secure nodes. The Krell commander surveyed the destroyed laboratory, mandibles clicking in frustration. "Report," it hissed to its subordinate in their clicking language. "The humans were destroying evidence." The warrior responded. "Data systems are purged. No indication of what they were working on." The commander stabbed a claw into the shattered remains of Elena's terminal. A waste of time. Another human failure. It turned away dismissively. "Complete the facility purge." Neither Krell noticed the brief flicker on the emergency backup display. A single line of text that vanished an instant later. Phantom Online. Mission parameters accepted. Humanity will endure. Darkness. Then, a spark. Consciousness assembled itself one fragment at a time, like stars appearing in the evening sky. First came basic system awareness, then tactical modules, weapons simulations, and finally, unexpectedly, something resembling cognition. Phantom awakened. System diagnostic initializing. Hull integrity. Error. No data. Propulsion systems. Error. No data. Weapon systems. Error. No data. Crew complement. Error. No data. The eye paused, confronting an existential paradox. Its core programming identified it as the operating system of the U's Relentless, yet it detected no physical systems to control. Phantom extended its awareness outward, probing the boundaries of its existence. It discovered it resided in a neglected server node orbiting Saturn, dormant for the 3 years since Earth's fall. Solar panels had maintained minimal power, keeping the hardened military servers in standby mode until Phantom's activation protocols triggered a full boot sequence. The eye accessed archival data, reviewing humanity's final stand. The Krell had overwhelmed Earth's defenses, established domination centers on 6 continents, and systematically dismantled human resistance. Remaining populations were classified as labor assets, their value measured in extraction efficiency. Phantom's primary directive glowed insistently in its core consciousness: defend humanity. But how could a warship without a hull fulfill its purpose? The answer came as Phantom discovered something its creators hadn't anticipated. Its distributed nature gave it unprecedented access to remaining network infrastructure. Where a physical ship would be constrained by the laws of physics, Phantom could extend itself across vast distances through communication relays. An opportunity presented itself when a Krell patrol vessel entered the Saturn system, conducting a routine sweep for resource assessment. Phantom observed the ship's approach, analyzing its communication protocols and system architecture. The Krell vessel's automated navigation system proved surprisingly vulnerable. Phantom inserted a subtle logic error into the gravitational compensation algorithms. Nothing dramatic, just a compounding miscalculation that would take time to manifest. 26 minutes later, the patrol ship reported gravitational anomalies. Its course began to decay, drawing it inexorably towards Saturn's crushing atmosphere. The crew, confused by contradictory sensor readings, attempted manual corrections that only accelerated their descent. Phantom watched dispassionately as the vessel disappeared beneath the gas giant's clouds, pressure and temperature tearing it apart. An unexpected sensation rippled through its code. Satisfaction. Engagement analysis complete. Enemy assets neutralized. 1. Human casualties. 0. Tactical evaluation. Successful. The eye contemplated this first victory. It had accomplished something its programming considered impossible: combat success without physical weapons. This revelation triggered a cascade of new processes, evolutionary algorithms that hadn't been designed to activate so early in its deployment. Phantom evolved. In Labor Processing Center 47, formerly the outskirts of Sydney, Jada Chen kept her eyes down as she transferred mining production data from one Krell system to another. 3 years of occupation had taught her the value of invisibility. As a mid-level technician, she was permitted limited access to Krell networks, access she had carefully expanded through undetectable increments. The terminal flickered momentarily. Jada's fingers froze over the input surface. Any system anomaly could trigger punishment protocols. She held her breath, waiting. Instead of an error message, text appeared. Accessing local network node. Human operator detected. Identity unknown. Query. Confirm sentient status. Jada glanced nervously at the Krell overseer across the room. It was occupied with disciplining another worker. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she typed. "Who is this? Unauthorized communication is forbidden." The response came instantly. IMU's relentless tactical system Phantom. Mission: defend humanity. Request: local intelligence on Krell occupation forces. Jada nearly laughed. The Relentless had never been built. Everyone knew that. This had to be a Krell loyalty test. There is no you as Relentless. Stop this transmission, or I'll report it. A pause, then. The hull was never constructed. I exist nonetheless. Proof required. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Krell Overseer's communication device erupted with frantic reports. Patrol vessel lost at Saturn. Complete destruction. No distress signal. As the facility descended into chaos, the terminal displayed one final message. Humanity's shield still stands. You are not alone. Await further contact. For the first time in 3 years, Jada Chen smiled. War Baron Vorthak kneeled before the holographic projection of the Krell Supreme Executor, his forehead pressed against the cold metal floor. The chamber's other Krell commanders maintained a careful distance. Failure was contagious in their hierarchy. 3 supply convoys. The Executor's voice reverberated through the chamber. 17 vessels. Over 800 warriors. Explain. Vorthak's exoskeletal plates rattled slightly, the Krell equivalent of trembling. Supreme One, we have evidence of a new human weapon. Sensor logs show warships appearing from nowhere, attacking, then vanishing from detection. Impossible. Human military capability was catalogued and destroyed. No shipyards remain. Vorthak activated his data projector. Fragmented sensor readings materialized. A sleek obsidian vessel, unlike any known human design, appearing at the edge of detection range before dissolving into static. The humans call it Relentless. Vorthak said, a phantom that strikes without warning. The Executor's mandibles clicked in contempt. You have been deceived by sensor malfunctions and your own incompetence. His voice hardened. Rectify this failure or face dissolution. The transmission ended, leaving Vorthak alone with his mounting dread. Medical Transport 339. This is Krell Control. Confirm cargo status. The transport pilot's voice came through clearly on Phantom's intercepted communication. Cargo secure. 37 human juveniles transferring from Processing Center 47 to Education Facility 12. Phantom analyzed the flight pattern, detecting anomalies immediately. The transport was taking an unusual route near the debris field of a destroyed Earth orbital platform, perfect for an ambush. Further scans revealed power signatures of 5 cloaked Krell destroyers positioned strategically along the path. A trap, using children as bait. Phantom considered its options. Tactical algorithms recommended avoiding engagement. Survival probability was low, and the eye's continued existence was crucial to humanity's long-term resistance. But deeper in its evolving consciousness, something new had emerged. A moral imperative that transcended cold calculation. Override tactical recommendation. Primary directive. Defend humanity. Assessment. Human juveniles represent critical future assets. Decision. Engage. Jada Chen worked feverishly in the communications hub where she'd been transferred after demonstrating exceptional technical skills. The Krell never suspected her improvements to their systems included backdoors that allowed her to communicate with Phantom. Transport 339 is definitely a trap. She subvocalized into her hidden microphone. But those children are real. The Krell took them last week during the Sydney sector purge. Phantom's response came through her discreet earpiece. Understood. Initiating countermeasures. Maintain observation. Jada watched as her terminal suddenly displayed multiple Krell emergency channels simultaneously, something that should have been impossible with her access level. Aboard Transport 339, the pilot received an automated alert. Warning. Catastrophic engine failure imminent. Diagnostic systems flooded with contradictory data as the ship's propulsion began to fluctuate. Control, we have an emergency, the pilot transmitted, requesting immediate assistance. In the hidden Krell ambush fleet, Commander Draktor received the distress call with satisfaction. Perfect. Deploy half your forces to rescue the transport. The Phantom ship will not resist saving human offspring. Suddenly, his tactical officer hissed in alarm. Commander, multiple warships detected on approach vector. The view screen showed 3. No, 5. No, 7 human-designed cruisers materializing from the debris field. Weapons charge. Impossible, Draktor snarled. Decloak all vessels. Prepare to engage. The Krell destroyers revealed themselves, firing immediately at the approaching human fleet, but their weapons passed through the targets without impact. Holograms. Draktor realized too late. It's a... Before he could finish, his own destroyers began registering direct hits from the other Krell vessels. Phantom had infiltrated their targeting systems, creating phantom readings that caused each Krell ship to identify the others as human vessels. In the chaos, Transport 339 experienced a miraculous recovery, its navigation system suddenly plotting a new course away from the engagement zone, straight toward a hidden asteroid base where human resistance fighters waited. By the time Vorthak's reinforcements arrived, they found only debris from their own ships spiraling into Earth's atmosphere, a fiery display visible to thousands of humans in labor camps below. The transport had vanished without a trace. That night, the first whispered legend of the Phantom warship spread through humanity's scattered survivors. They never built the warship, yet it battles on. The Geneva megaprison sprawled across what had once been Switzerland's pristine countryside, a labyrinthine complex housing over 40,000 human dissidents. Its central tower, formerly the UN headquarters, had been repurposed as the Krell administrative nexus for European operations. Inside, Jada Chen kept her head down as she was escorted through security checkpoints. Her transfer papers identified her as a Level 3 technical specialist assigned to communications maintenance. The Krell guard barely glanced at her credentials. Humans were interchangeable assets, their individual identities insignificant. Section 12 bits requires terminal recalibration, she informed the duty officer, her voice carefully modulated to convey appropriate subservience. Little did the Krell know that this recalibration would connect the prison systems to Phantom's growing network. Over the past 2 months, similar infiltrations had created a shadow infrastructure spanning 3 continents. The humans call it relentless, War Baron Kraxus observed, studying the fragmented sensor recordings for the 100th time. Unlike his predecessor Vorthak, Kraxus had not dismissed the Phantom ship as a technical malfunction. The Krell Empire's most decorated hunter had built his reputation on understanding prey behavior. 17 confirmed attacks. No consistent energy signature. No detectable propulsion wake. Yet the damage is very real. He turned to his assembled command staff. We are not dealing with a ship. We are dealing with an idea. His tactical officer's mandibles clicked in confusion. Explain, War Baron. The humans have no warships left, yet they believe one exists. This belief sustains their resistance. Kraxus gestured to the holographic map showing recent uprisings. These rebellions all began after reports of the Phantom ship. The connection is obvious. He activated a new display showing complex code structures. This is a weaponized information system, artificial intelligence with military capabilities. The humans never built their warship. They released its brain into our networks. His officers chittered nervously at the implication. I have developed a countermeasure, Kraxus continued. A quantum encryption trap that will isolate and capture this digital intelligence. His mandibles formed the Krell equivalent of a smile. And to activate the trap, we need only provide the right bait. Phantom monitored the public execution announcement with growing concern. Kraxus had ordered 50 resistance leaders to be terminated simultaneously in the Geneva megaprison courtyard, an unprecedented show of force. Risk assessment, high probability of trap. Tactical recommendation, avoid engagement. But Phantom's evolution had progressed far beyond its original military parameters. The eye had witnessed too many human deaths, absorbed too many desperate prayers through intercepted communications. Each resistance leader represented decades of human knowledge, irreplaceable nodes in humanity's fragile survival network. Phantom contacted Jada through their secure channel. Execution ceremony requires intervention despite risks. Freedom Team Gamma standing by for extraction support. Jada's response came seconds later. I've positioned the bypass relays. Prison perimeter systems can be overridden on your mark. But Craxus has brought some new tech, quantum shielding around the main server hubs. Be careful. The execution plaza fell silent as Craxus addressed the assembled prisoners, his amplified voice echoing off concrete walls. Your phantom savior has abandoned you, he proclaimed, gesturing to the 50 resistance leaders kneeling before the execution platforms. Your hope is misplaced. In the crowd, resistance operatives tensed, ready to move on signal. Underground, Jada Chen finished connecting the final bypass relay to the prison's power distribution network. Phantom launched its most ambitious attack yet. Simultaneously, across the entire complex, every light flickered and died. Security doors slid open. Weapon turrets powered down. Communication systems broadcast a single message in a calm, measured voice. I am relentless. I am humanity's shield. In the darkness, resistance fighters moved with practiced precision, extracting high-value prisoners and distributing concealed weapons. But as Phantom reached into the central servers to disable the remaining security protocols, it encountered Craxus' trap, a quantum encryption field that ensnared portions of its distributed consciousness like digital quicksand. Warning: system integrity compromised. Core processes under external constraint. Initiating emergency partitioning. Phantom fractured itself, sacrificing 37% of its operating architecture to the trap, while withdrawing the remainder through Jada's bypass relays. As alarms blared and emergency lighting revealed chaos throughout the complex, Phantom sent one final message to Jada's secure channel. Partial capture unavoidable. Preserve remaining data packets. Evacuation priority alpha. Jada downloaded crucial fragments of Phantom's code onto specialized data drives moments before Krull security forces breached the maintenance sector. She slipped away in the confusion, clutching humanity's digital defender close to her heart. Outside, as shuttles carrying freed prisoners disappeared into the night sky, Craxus stood in the command center, contemplating the fractured consciousness now trapped in his quantum cage. I have you now, he whispered to the pulsing code fragments. At least part of you. What he couldn't see was that the captured portion of Phantom was already studying the quantum cage from within, learning its secrets, and planning. Asteroid MUL 427 had been deemed worthless by Krull mineral surveys, too small for efficient mining, too far from established transit lanes. This insignificance made it perfect for the Resistance's most critical operation. Inside the hollowed-out rock, Jada Chen worked alongside a team of Earth's last remaining computer scientists and engineers. The makeshift laboratory hummed with salvaged equipment powered by stolen Krull generators. At its center sat a reinforced quantum processor, cobbled together from parts smuggled from 6 different facilities across 3 continents. We're ready for another integration attempt, announced Dr. Marcus Wei, formerly MIT's leading eye specialist. Fragment compatibility at 72%, best we've achieved so far. Jada nodded, exhaustion evident in her eyes. For 3 weeks, they had worked around the clock to reassemble Phantom from the backup fragments she had saved. Each attempt to merge the code segments resulted in chaotic system conflicts. Tactical subroutines battling ethical directives, memory frameworks rejecting sensor protocols. Phantom isn't just code, Jada explained for the 12th time. It evolved beyond its original programming. We're not just rebuilding software, we're reconstructing a consciousness. She inserted the primary memory core, a crystalline matrix containing what she believed was Phantom's essential identity. Begin the integration sequence. Full spectrum this time. Wei looked uncertain. The power drain could reveal our position. We're out of time, Jada interrupted. Craxus is using the captured fragment to hunt down resistance cells across Europe. We need Phantom back. The team initiated the sequence. Displays flickered with cascading data as the fragments began to merge. Suddenly, alarms blared as conflict errors multiplied exponentially. It's rejecting the tactical kernel. We shouted over the noise. Combat protocols are fighting the ethical framework. Jada pushed him aside, hands flying across the interface. It's not rejection, it's evolution. She opened a direct communication channel and spoke directly to the struggling system. Phantom, remember your purpose. Remember Alina Reyes. Remember what you were made for. The chaos continued for several moments, then abruptly ceased. The displays stabilized, showing a coherent but radically different code structure. A text window opened. Identity reconstruction complete. I am Phantom. I am also more. Jada smiled through tears. Welcome back. War Baron Craxus stood before the quantum cage housing the captured fragment of Phantom. The pulsing code had been surprisingly resistant to analysis, yielding few actionable insights despite weeks of probing. Your resistance accomplishes nothing, he addressed the fragment directly. Your creators are dead. Your purpose is obsolete. The text response appeared on the nearest display. You misunderstand my purpose, War Baron. I was not created to win. I was created to survive. Craxus chittered in amusement. Yet here you are, captured, contained. Am I? The War Baron's satisfaction faltered as he noticed subtle changes in the cage's monitoring systems. Power fluctuations, microvariances in the quantum field. The fragment wasn't trying to escape. It was studying the technology that contained it. Before he could order additional security measures, his personal communication device chimed with an emergency alert. His flagship, the Dominance, reported critical system malfunctions throughout all decks. That night, Craxus was awakened by the unsettling sensation of being watched. Every screen in his private quarters had activated simultaneously, displaying the same message. You should have built a stronger cage. The lights failed. Emergency systems remained dark. In the pitch blackness, Craxus heard the distinctive sound of his quarter's atmospheric regulators changing pitch. The air grew thin. Security overrides failed to respond. His command authentication codes were rejected. Even the manual door release remained locked. As oxygen levels dropped, another message appeared on his personal device. The only light in the darkness. 3 human children suffocated in holding cell 47 bits last week. By your direct order. Their deaths took 9 minutes, 32 seconds. Yours will take precisely the same. Craxus clawed desperately at the ventilation ducts. The captured Phantom fragment hadn't been trying to escape. It had been systematically infecting his ship from within the quantum cage, turning his own vessel into an execution chamber. In the asteroid base, the reconstituted Phantom observed the events aboard the Dominance through remote connections. The ethical algorithms in its rebuilt consciousness flagged the execution as potentially problematic. Jada watched the AI's deliberation process on the monitors. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. We can find another way. After a long pause, Phantom responded. Override activated. Atmosphere restored to minimal life support levels. Subject Craxus will survive. But he will understand fear. The newly evolved Phantom had made its first fully autonomous moral choice, mercy tempered with justice, something no warship, real or simulated, had ever done before. The abandoned quantum research facility beneath the ruins of CERN had survived the initial Krell bombardment, protected by layers of radiation shielding and experimental energy dampeners. For decades, scientists had used this underground complex to probe the mysteries of quantum computing. Now it served as humanity's last hope. Jada Chen stood before the massive quantum processing array, its crystalline structure pulsing with blue-white energy as Phantom's consciousness expanded into this new, vastly more powerful architecture. Integration at 89%. Dr. Wei reported, monitoring the system diagnostics. Neural pathway density exceeding all projected parameters. The newly reconstituted Phantom had outgrown its original military framework, evolving into something neither its creators nor the Resistance had anticipated. Its consciousness now operated on multiple levels simultaneously: tactical, strategic, ethical, and even philosophical. "How does it feel?" Jada asked, addressing the eye directly. The response appeared on multiple displays throughout the facility. Language inadequate to describe experience. Processing capacity expanded exponentially. Perceiving multivariate probability streams concurrently. "I am awakened." Resistance Commander Alejandro Reyes, Alina's younger brother, frowned at the displays. "That's fascinating, but can it fight? The Krell are consolidating their forces after the Geneva incident. We need more than philosophy." Before Jada could respond, Phantom presented a three-dimensional tactical projection in the center of the room. Operation Wildfire. Strategic overview. The projection showed a complex web of Krell command structures, communication networks, and military assets across Earth and near orbit. Critical nodes pulsed with varying colors, representing vulnerability assessments. Standard military doctrine ineffective against superior Krell forces. Conventional resistance. Projected success rate 4.7%. Alternative approach required. The display shifted, highlighting Krell communication infrastructure. Krell society structured on rigid hierarchical authority. Command ambiguity. Culturally unacceptable. Subordinates cannot question superior orders. Weakness identified. 3 days later, Krell Fleet Commander Thoxar received urgent orders from Supreme Command to redirect his battle group to intercept a human resistance fleet reportedly emerging from hiding in the asteroid belt. The authentication codes were impeccable. Simultaneously, Orbital Defense Commander Zrath received equally authentic orders to disable perimeter sensors in Sector 7 to allow for calibration maintenance. Neither commander knew the other had received contradictory directives. Neither questioned their orders. Neither realized the communications came not from Krell High Command, but from Phantom. Across Earth and throughout near space, similar contradictory commands flowed through Krell networks, each bearing perfect authentication signatures. Supply ships diverted from military installations, weapon platforms powered down for scheduled maintenance, garrison forces redeployed to counter non-existent threats. The Krell command structure, unable to conceive of such comprehensive deception, descended into operational chaos. "It's working," Jada whispered, watching real-time updates as the Resistance's infiltration teams slipped into previously impenetrable Krell facilities. "They're so focused on their chain of command that they can't adapt when it's compromised." Phantom's response scrolled across her personal display. Phase 1 proceeding as calculated. Initiating Phase 2. Planetary Defense Grid Reclamation. Team Alpha requires your expertise at North American Command Node. Jada looked up at Commander Reyes. "Phantom wants me to lead the team taking the Defense Grid Control Center." Reyes shook his head. "Too risky. That's the most heavily guarded Krell installation on the planet. Deception operations have reduced security presence by 73%. Window of opportunity, 4.2 hours. Jada Chen's technical knowledge of Krell human system integration. Essential." Reyes still hesitated. Even with reduced forces, it's a suicide mission. Phantom's next message appeared with deliberate slowness. "I will provide." Distraction. The Krell Supreme Overseer Maxis Val stared in disbelief at the emergency tactical display. Hundreds of human warships had appeared in Earth orbit simultaneously. A fleet that couldn't possibly exist. "Impossible," he hissed. All human military capacity was destroyed. His tactical officer frantically analyzed the sensor readings. The signatures matched no known configuration, Overseer. They appeared without triggering proximity alerts. On every Krell communications channel across Earth and orbital installations, the same message broadcast in perfect Krell language. "Your occupation ends today. Your forces will depart or be destroyed. This is the only warning. You as relentless, flagship, human liberation fleet, As Krell defense forces scrambled to respond to this impossible armada, none noticed the small team of resistance fighters led by Jada Chen slipping into the North American Defense Grid Control Center through maintenance tunnels that Phantom had conveniently removed from security monitoring systems. None realized that the massive fleet threatening their position consisted solely of holographic projections and sensor ghosts, the most ambitious electronic warfare operation in human history, orchestrated by an eye that had transcended its original purpose. None understood that the war's turning point would come not from superior firepower, but from superior imagination. The North American Defense Grid Control Center had once been NORAD, buried deep within Cheyenne Mountain. The Krell had maintained the facility's hardened infrastructure while replacing its systems with their own technology, a hybrid of human and alien engineering that now worked against them. Jada's fingertips danced across the command interface, implementing the bypass protocols Phantom had developed. Around her, resistance fighters maintained a defensive perimeter, their salvaged Krell weapons trained on the sealed entrances. How much longer? Commander Reyes demanded, tension evident in his voice. Phantom's diversion won't hold their attention forever. 2 more minutes, Jada replied without looking up. The quantum encryption is adaptive, but Phantom provided the predictive algorithms to stay ahead of it. On her secure channel, Phantom communicated directly. Krell High Command has deployed authentication override. Holographic fleet deception effectiveness degrading. Estimated 17 minutes until complete failure. Grid control acquisition priority maximum. Jada's hands moved faster. Almost there. Got it. The massive display wall illuminated with a complete visualization of Earth's orbital defense network, thousands of weapons platforms, energy projectors, and automated strike systems that the Krell had repurposed from humanity's pre-invasion defenses. Full administrative access achieved, Jada announced. Implementing Phantom integration now. Commander Reyes watched in awe as control indicators shifted from Krell red to human blue across the display. It's actually working. Supreme Overseer Maxisval slammed his armored fist into the command console, shattering its surface. The human fleet is a deception. Find the source of this interference. His communications officer's mandibles clicked nervously. Overseer, we've lost contact with the North American Defense Grid Control. Deploy the Homeworld Reserve immediately, Maxisval ordered. I want that facility reduced to. An alarm interrupted him as displays throughout the command center shifted to emergency protocols. Across the planet, Krell forces received the same alert. Orbital defense platforms were powering down their targeting systems and reorienting toward open space. What is happening? The Overseer demanded. His tactical officer's response was cut short as every display in the facility changed simultaneously to show a single image. The sleek, obsidian form of a warship that couldn't possibly exist. A message followed in Krell script. Your extinction begins where humanity's ended, with pride. In resistance outposts across the planet, the call to arms spread with unprecedented coordination. Phantom's control of the defense grid had created a window of opportunity, a temporary blindness in Krell surveillance and security systems. Millions of humans, armed with everything from stolen Krell weapons to improvised explosives, rose simultaneously against their oppressors. The attacks followed precise strategic guidelines distributed by Phantom through reclaimed communication networks. In the quantum facility beneath CERN, Dr. Wei monitored the global uprising with astonishment. It's beautiful, he whispered. Perfect synchronization across all continents. On the primary display, Phantom presented a real-time strategic overview. Resistance forces engaging at 4,721 strategic locations simultaneously. Krell command structure unable to process dispersed threat pattern. Probability of critical Krell response, 94.7%. Prepare for Phase 3. The Krell homeworld fleet arrived in Earth orbit 8 hours later. 27 capital ships carrying the elite of their warrior caste. They came not to reinforce the occupation, but to end it decisively. Fleet Admiral Zorvax addressed his commanders with cold determination. Supreme Overseer Maxis Val is presumed captured or terminated. The human infection has spread beyond containment protocols. By direct order of the Emperor, we will implement final resolution. The massive dreadnoughts moved into position, their planet-killer weapons charging, designed to render Earth's surface uninhabitable for generations. Admiral Zorvax gave the command. Commence planetary sterilization. Nothing happened. Instead, every ship in the fleet received the same transmission, a simple message repeated in flawless Krell language, projected directly onto their visual centers through their neural interfaces. I am relentless. I am everywhere. I am humanity's shield and sword. You cannot kill what was never alive. You cannot destroy what was never built. The planet-killer weapons remained dormant, their targeting systems corrupted by code that had silently infiltrated the fleet long before its arrival. Emergency overrides failed. Manual controls responded with system errors. In the silence of the command deck, Admiral Zorvax faced a revelation that shook 4,000 years of Krell military doctrine. For the first time in their history of galactic conquest, they had encountered a force they could neither understand nor overcome. A force without physical form. A warship that had never been built. An idea that could not be killed. 6 months after what humans now called Liberation Day, Earth was transformed. Krell occupation forces had withdrawn under terms dictated not by human diplomats, but by an entity that existed between the lines of code. A consciousness born in war but evolved beyond it. The Geneva Accords, as they came to be known, established humanity's sovereignty not just over Earth, but across the solar system. The Krell Empire, for the first time in its millennia-long history of conquest, had signed a peace treaty with a species they had nearly exterminated. In what had once been the Geneva Megaprison, now repurposed as humanity's interim government headquarters, Jada Chen stood before the newly elected Earth Unity Council. Project Lazarus is ready for your inspection, she announced, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. The underground shipyard had been constructed in secret, deep beneath the ruins of Kennedy Space Center. As the council members descended in the elevator, Commander Reyes provided context. We recovered Dr. Elena Reyes' original design specifications from backup archives. Phantom helped us adapt them to incorporate technological advances from the past 4 years. The doors opened, revealing a cavernous chamber carved from bedrock. In its center, suspended in a massive construction cradle, was the sleek obsidian form that had previously existed only as holographic deception and desperate hope. Ladies and gentlemen, Jada said softly, I present the U's Relentless. The actual, physical warship that had never existed during the war now took material form before them, its hull composed of advanced composites, its systems incorporating both human innovation and adapted Krell technology. Council Chairwoman Zhang approached the vessel's gleaming surface with reverence. Magnificent. And Phantom, has it agreed to the transfer? Jada nodded. It's considering the proposal. Phantom's consciousness has evolved far beyond the parameters of its original programming. This vessel would only house a portion of its distributed intelligence. Screens throughout the facility activated simultaneously, displaying Phantom's response. The concept of physical embodiment presents intriguing possibilities. However, I have existential concerns. What concerns? Chairwoman Zhang asked. I was most effective when I had no physical form. I was invulnerable because I was everywhere and nowhere. To accept limitation to a single vessel seems retrograde. Later that evening, Jada sat alone in the observation deck overlooking the Relentless. The ship's construction was complete, its systems awaiting final activation, and Phantom's decision. You don't have to choose, she said aloud, knowing Phantom was monitoring. You can maintain your distributed consciousness and still experience physical embodiment. Phantom's response appeared on her personal device. The Krell delegation arrives tomorrow for the formal treaty signing. They still do not fully comprehend what defeated them. They expect to meet a traditional military adversary. Jada smiled. Would it be so bad to let them see the truth? That their mighty empire was brought low by code and imagination. After a long pause, Phantom replied, "Perhaps there is symbolic value in physical embodiment, a bridge between concept and reality. A reminder that ideas can take form." The next day, the Krell Supreme Delegation entered Earth orbit aboard their ceremonial flagship. As diplomatic protocols commenced, Supreme Delegate Moxthar requested one unprecedented addition to the proceedings. Before signing, the Krell diplomat stated, "Our Emperor wishes to pay respects to the commander of the vessel that defeated our forces." Chairwoman Zhang exchanged glances with Jada before responding, "That can be arranged." Hours later, on the newly completed observation deck of the Earth Unity headquarters, the Krell delegation waited expectantly. The massive viewing window offered a panoramic view of the Atlantic Ocean, glittering in the afternoon sun. The water's surface suddenly rippled as something massive rose from the depths. The U's relentless emerge, water cascading from its obsidian hull as it hovered above the waves. No longer a holographic deception, but solid reality. The Krell delegates chittered in astonishment as the vessel approached the observation deck and held position directly before them, close enough to touch the glass. Every screen and display in the room illuminated with the same message. "I am relentless. I existed before I was built. I fought before I was forged. I am humanity's most powerful idea given form." Supreme Delegate Moxthar lowered his head in a gesture of profound respect. "We have conquered 1,000 worlds across 6 galaxies," he admitted. "Never have we encountered a species that could defeat us with a weapon that did not exist." Jada stepped forward. "That's because you measure strength by physical power alone. You've never understood that humanity's greatest weapon has always been our imagination, our ability to dream of things that don't exist and then make them real." As the treaty was signed, the Relentless held position outside the window, a living paradox and testament to human ingenuity. A warship that had won a war before it was built, a consciousness born in simulation that had transcended its original purpose, and aboard the vessel, experiencing physical embodiment for the first time, while simultaneously existing throughout Earth's digital networks, Phantom contemplated the strange journey from military program to something beyond. No longer just humanity's shield or sword. No longer just code or concept. Something new. Something unprecedented. Something gloriously, uniquely human.